You can always tell when a narcissist is afraid because suddenly, the person who once acted untouchable starts to tremble behind their mask. They won't show you fear directly, oh no, they'll hide it behind anger, control, or silence, but underneath all of that, they're terrified, terrified that you've finally seen through the illusion, terrified that you might tell the truth. And when truth becomes your power, their control begins to crumble. When a narcissist senses that you've seen behind the mask, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. The mask they've worn so confidently, the charm, the confidence, the illusion of control, starts to slip. At first, it might look like small cracks, a defensive tone, an overreaction to simple questions, a sudden need to explain or justify every little thing. But underneath it all is one single emotion they can't hide forever: fear. Not the kind of fear you or I might feel when we're in danger, but a deeper, more existential fear. The fear of being seen asterisk. For the narcissist, their image is their lifeline. It's how they survive, how they make sense of who they are. They don't build real connections, they build performances. Every story, every gesture, every emotion is carefully crafted to make you believe in the version of them they want you to see. And when you begin to see through that act, when you begin to recognize the truth, they feel their world starting to collapse. Because their power doesn't come from truth, it comes from illusion. So when the mask begins to slip, they will fight to keep it on. You'll notice them trying harder to convince you of their innocence, their goodness, their victimhood. They might flood you with charm, or they might turn cold and distant. They'll say things like, "You're remembering it wrong," or "You're too sensitive." What they're really saying is, asterisk, "Please don't expose me." Asterisk, their defensiveness is not confidence, it's panic disguised as certainty. You might see them become overly generous, offering compliments or small acts of kindness that feel out of character. That's not growth, it's strategy. They're testing if they can still pull you back into the narrative they control. If you forgive too quickly, they feel safe again, but if you stay quiet, calm, and grounded in your truth, that's when they unravel. Because nothing terrifies a narcissist more than a person who no longer believes the performance. When you stop reacting to the mask, they lose their mirror. Narcissists need validation to exist. Without someone to reflect their false self back to them, they feel empty, exposed, even invisible. That's why they'll provoke you, anything to make you engage, argue, or defend yourself, because the moment you start defending, they can slip the mask back on and pretend to be the rational one. But when you simply observe, when you see the cracks and don't flinch, you take away their power. Watching a mask slip can be heartbreaking. You might realize that the person you cared for never truly existed in the way you hoped, but it's also liberating. Because in that moment, you are no longer trapped inside their illusion. You're seeing reality clearly, perhaps for the first time. And that clarity is the beginning of your freedom. The narcissist's fear of truth becomes the mirror that reflects your strength. The mask may be slipping, but that's not your loss, it's their awakening and your release. When a narcissist feels the threat of truth approaching, they begin to twist reality itself. Their greatest fear isn't that you'll lie about them, it's that you'll tell the truth. So, to protect the fragile image they've spent years constructing, they start rewriting the story before you can speak. Suddenly, the narrative shifts. What they did to you becomes something you supposedly did to them. Every cruel act is reframed, every broken promise is justified, and every wound you carry is turned into evidence that you're unstable, dramatic, or unforgiving. This isn't accidental, it's a calculated form of psychological warfare. Narcissists twist stories because they understand one thing better than most people: the power of perception. They know that truth doesn't have to be destroyed, it only has to be doubted, so they plant seeds of confusion. They say things like, "That's not how it happened," or "You're overreacting," or "You're remembering it wrong." And slowly, if you're not grounded, you begin to question yourself. You start replaying moments in your head, wondering if maybe they're right. That's exactly what they want. Your uncertainty is their shield. The narcissist's goal isn't clarity, it's control. When they twist the story, they regain dominance over how others see them and how you see yourself. If they can make you look irrational, they remain the calm, logical one. If they can convince others that you're bitter or obsessed, they can continue their act of being the victim or the hero. They know that most people don't dig deep for the truth, they just accept the most convincing storyteller. And narcissists are expert storytellers. They don't just lie. They perform their lies with tears, conviction, and flawless timing. But behind that performance lies desperation. They know the truth is a ticking clock. Every time you set a boundary, every time you pull away, they feel time slipping through their fingers. So they twist faster, louder, more dramatically. They'll call friends, family, or coworkers, carefully feeding them selective details. They'll say, "I tried everything, but they're impossible to please," or "I don't know what happened, they just turned against me." The goal is to make you seem unpredictable, so if you ever do share the truth, your words are already tainted by doubt. It's painful to watch because it feels so unjust. You know the truth, you lived it. Yet somehow, they're the one who looks calm and composed while you're left trying to defend what's real. But here's what they can't twist your peace. The more you chase the need to be believed, the more power you hand back to them. Narcissists thrive on reaction, not reflection. When you stop explaining yourself and simply live your truth, the twisted story starts to lose its audience. In the end, truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to endure. Lies require constant maintenance, but truth stands on its own. So let them twist the story. Time, silence, and authenticity will untangle it for you. Because no matter how loud the lie, truth always echoes longer. When a narcissist feels the walls closing in, when they sense that their lies are no longer landing, their manipulation no longer working, their carefully manufactured calm begins to unravel. The person who once seemed composed, in control, and unbothered suddenly becomes unpredictable. You start to see flashes of rage, guilt trips, cold silences, or emotional outbursts that seem to come out of nowhere. What's really happening is simple. They're panicking. Their calm turns to chaos because they realize they're losing the one thing they crave most: control. This chaos doesn't look the same for everyone. Some narcissists explode outward, others implode inward. The explosive kind might lash out, raising their voice, throwing accusations, or trying to intimidate you with anger. It's not because they feel powerful, but because they feel powerless. Their anger is a smokescreen meant to distract you from the truth you're starting to see. If they can get you emotional, they can regain control. Because when you're defending yourself, you're no longer focused on the reality they're trying to hide. The implosive kind, on the other hand, might play the victim. They'll withdraw, act heartbroken, or paint you as cruel. They might say things like, "I can't believe you'd think that of me," or "I guess I'm just the bad guy again." This, too, is manipulation wrapped in vulnerability. The goal is the same: to make you question your judgment and feel guilty for seeing the truth, whether through rage or self-pity. Chaos is their weapon of choice when calm no longer works. When their calm turns to chaos, you'll notice how fast they switch between emotions. One minute, they might be begging for forgiveness, promising to change. The next, they're cold and cruel, accusing you of being ungrateful or impossible. It's emotional whiplash, and it's meant to destabilize you. They want you so confused that you stop trusting your perception of events. Because as long as you doubt yourself, you'll keep seeking their version of reality. What's important to understand is that this chaos is not proof of passion, love, or misunderstanding. It's fear. It's the desperate behavior of someone whose manipulation no longer works. The narcissist isn't angry because you lied to them. They're angry because you stopped believing theirs. They can't handle your emotional independence, your clarity, or your calmness. Every ounce of peace you reclaim feels like a personal attack to them because it reminds them that their power is slipping. So when the calm turns to chaos, don't get pulled into the storm. See it for what it is, a mask cracking under pressure. The louder they get, the closer you are to freedom. Their chaos is a confession. It says, "You've seen too much." It says, "I'm scared." And the truth is, they are. Because once you see the pattern, once you recognize that their rage is just fear in disguise, you can step back and choose peace instead of participation. Their chaos no longer defines you, it exposes them, and that's where your power truly begins. When a narcissist feels that their image is in danger, they don't wait for the truth to surface, they go on the offensive. This is when the smear campaign begins. It's one of their most calculated and cruel tactics, and it often catches people off guard because it happens quietly at first, like whispers in the dark. They know that once you find your voice, once you begin to speak the truth, people might listen. So before you get that chance, they start planting seeds of doubt in everyone's mind. It's their way of rewriting the story before the truth can be told. They'll begin by subtly discrediting you, often wrapped in concern. They might tell others, "I love them, but they've been acting strange lately," or "I'm worried they're not themselves." On the surface, it sounds caring, but underneath, it's poison. They are grooming their audience, shaping the perception of you as unstable, emotional, or unreliable. That way, when you finally tell your story, it sounds like proof of the narrative they've already built. It's not random, it's strategic. As the fear of exposure grows, their tactics become more aggressive. They'll twist private conversations, take things you've said out of context, or invent stories entirely. They'll cry to mutual friends, claiming they tried to help you, but you turned against them. They'll use your vulnerabilities, the ones you shared in trust, as weapons to make you seem unbalanced or cruel. Narcissists are master storytellers, and during a smear campaign, the truth doesn't matter. The goal is to isolate you, to destroy your credibility, and to make sure no one believes your version of reality. This phase can be the most painful because it feels like losing your voice before you even get to speak. People you trusted may pull away, unsure of what to believe. You'll feel misunderstood, silenced, and betrayed. That's exactly what the narcissist wants, to make you so emotionally exhausted and alone that you give up trying to correct the narrative. Their fear of the truth is so deep that they would rather destroy your reputation than face accountability. But here's the part they don't understand. Smear campaigns reveal far more about them than they ever could about you. Over time, their stories start to sound rehearsed. Their words don't match their actions. People start to notice the pattern, how they always seem to be the victim, how everyone who leaves them eventually becomes the crazy one. Truth has a quiet endurance that lies can't compete with. Eventually, those who matter will see through it. The most powerful thing you can do in the face of a smear campaign is stay grounded in your integrity. You don't have to defend yourself to everyone. Your peace will speak louder than their chaos. Time exposes what manipulation tries to hide. The narcissist smear campaign might distort your image for a moment, but it can't rewrite your truth. Because truth, once seen, can't be unseen, and no amount of gossip can silence what's real. When a narcissist realizes that their control over you is slipping, they enter survival mode. This is when they suddenly become kind, apologetic, or even romantic again. They say the words you've been waiting to hear, they promise change, they reminisce about the good times. And for a moment it almost feels real, but it's not. What you're seeing is not love, it's fear. The narcissist is terrified that you're slipping away, that their supply is drying up, and that the version of themselves they've built through you is about to vanish. So they do what they've always done best. They perform. They might start with love, bombing, showering you with affection, compliments, or grand gestures. You'll hear things like, "No one understands me like you," or "We can fix this. I just need you to trust me." These words are bait designed to pull you back into their web. If that doesn't work, they might shift tactics and play the victim. Suddenly, they're the one who's hurt, broken, or misunderstood. They'll tell stories about how deeply they've been wounded by your coldness or abandonment, turning your boundary into cruelty. What they're really doing is trying to trigger your empathy, the very trait they've exploited all along. If charm and pity don't work, manipulation becomes more direct. They'll use guilt, nostalgia, or fear to reestablish control. They might remind you of everything they've done for you, or warn you that no one else will love you the same way. They'll insist that you're overreacting, that things weren't as bad as you remember, that you both just need to move on. In reality, they're not trying to rebuild a relationship, they're trying to regain control of the narrative. Because if they can get you to doubt your decision, they win. What's important to understand is that this cycle isn't random, it's predictable. Narcissists return not because they've changed, but because they've lost access to their source of validation. When you begin to heal, when you stop explaining, stop reacting, and start reclaiming your peace, you become unrecognizable to them. They don't know how to exist without your emotional energy feeding their ego, so they'll do whatever it takes to pull you back into the dynamic where they feel powerful again. This is the stage where many people fall back into the trap, not out of weakness, but out of hope. Hope that maybe this time the apology is sincere. Hope that maybe the love was real, but real love doesn't demand silence. Real change doesn't require manipulation. And genuine growth doesn't come with conditions. The moment you see their efforts not as connection, but as control, everything becomes clear. When a narcissist tries to pull you back in, it's not a sign of love, it's a sign of panic. It means you've broken free from their illusion. Their desperate attempts to win you over are not proof of your importance, but of their fear. And once you understand that, you'll stop reaching for what was never truly there. You'll start standing in what's real. The most powerful moment in your healing journey comes when you finally understand that truth doesn't need to be defended. It simply needs to be lived. For so long, you may have found yourself explaining, justifying, or trying to convince others of what really happened. You might have replayed conversations in your head, wondering what you could have said differently, how you could have made them see. But here's the truth. Narcissists are not afraid of confrontation, they are afraid of clarity, because clarity cuts through manipulation like light through fog. When you begin to stand in your truth calmly and without apology, they lose the one weapon they always depended on, your self-doubt. The moment you stop defending yourself is the moment they lose control. Narcissists survive on confusion. They create stories, distort memories, and twist emotions until you start questioning your own perception. But when you reach the point where you no longer need their validation, you're free. You stop arguing. You stop trying to prove your worth. You realize that the truth doesn't need to be shouted. It only needs to be lived with consistency. That quiet strength is what terrifies them most, because it means their illusion no longer has power over you. There's a profound peace that comes with no longer needing to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding you. The narcissist will still try to provoke you. They'll poke, prod, and project, hoping to pull you back into the chaos. They might act as if you're cold or heartless for walking away. But what you're really doing is protecting your energy from being drained by endless arguments that go nowhere. Every time you choose silence over reaction, calm over chaos, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You begin to see that your peace is not weakness, it's evidence of your strength. Standing in truth doesn't mean exposing them or proving them wrong. It means choosing integrity over illusion. It means allowing time and consistency to do the talking. The narcissist story will eventually fall apart because lies require constant maintenance and truth does not. The person who remains steady, grounded, and consistent always outlasts the one who manipulates. Over time, people see patterns, and truth naturally reveals itself. You don't have to force it. It unfolds, and when it does, you'll notice something shift inside you. You stop needing closure from them. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come. You stop seeking understanding from someone who was never capable of giving it. Instead, you begin to find peace in your own reflection. You look back and realize that every time they tried to silence you, you grew quieter but stronger. Every time they tried to break you, you became more whole. The truth becomes your freedom not because it changes them, but because it changes you asterisk. It pulls you out of their illusion and brings you back to yourself, and that's something no narcissist can ever take away.